Hi, Howie Campbell here. Thanks for stopping by. This is part of a series of videos of phone conversations I had with the people involved in the making of my album Northern Roots, Southern Soul. I hope you like it. Today we're talking with Tom Easley, my producer. All right, Tom Easley, my producer. How are you?
We are doing fantastic. How are you, Howie?
I'm doing just fine, man. Yeah, it's good to be talking with you on this beautiful day. I'm just thrilled that we're connecting with Tom Easley, trying to find out who you are, where you've been, what you've been up to, other than this fantastic album that we just put out.
Yeah, pretty excited here, brother. That's turned out exceptionally well. The quality of that record is surpassed anything we've done in the studio so far, and that really does thrill us.
So, yeah, you've got some sweet new analog gear coming in, which I can't wait to check out on my next album. But
right.
But let's find out a little bit about who Tom Easley is.
No,
yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'd like to know that myself.
I know, yeah. You and Vince Barranco were in the same boat. He said something similar. But let's step into the Wayback Machine. And when you graduated high school, you ended up in the Army. And it turns out we were both on Fort Campbell, Kentucky at the same time. Isn't that amazing?
At the exact same time. Isn't that bizarre?
Yeah, and we probably rubbed elbows.
No doubt. I know we went to all the same haunts. I know we were at some of the same old houses where musicians had their equipment set up, and remember the big parachute over the drum kit in that one house?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that was awesome.
It was great. Awesome. It was great. Clarksville, Tennessee, man.
I cannot remember who that band was, but the guy had a double kick set of Slingerland chrome-looking drums, I think, if I remember correctly.
Well, you know more about it than I do because I was there for other reasons, actually. I mean, I was there. The music was cool and everything, but hey, we don't need to go there. So after the Army, you actually got introduced to electronics in the Army, and then when you left the Army, you got right into music, didn't you?
I really did. All my weekends were spent down in Nashville, which was like 45 miles away. And I would go knocking on doors, going in studios. And, you know, back in those days, things were so open and easy going. You know, you could go and sit down in a studio and you don't know who might walk in. It could be Norbert Putnam, or it could be a Cal Lennon, or just, you know, whoever may walk in and start talking to you and realize you don't know coon shit from apple butter, but that doesn't matter. They still took an interest in you and gave you their time. And that was really, really cool.
So Nashville was the place to be.
Well, yeah, it was, but I did not wind up in Nashville proper. I kept going down there. I kept meeting people, and I met a fellow named Joe Overholt. He had a recording studio and a company that was designing and building recording consoles. And when I ETS'd out of the service, I was working at a company right across the street from my house called Tentronics, doing electronic circuit boards. I was actually in the acidizing part where we were etching circuit boards and stuffing them with the components and what have you for a big, huge automated sewing machine for Levi Strauss. I didn't stay there long because I did go to Nashville all the time, and that's where my heart was in the music and in recording. And I met a fellow named Joe Overholt. He had a company down in Knoxville, Tennessee, and they built L-Tech recording consoles. Of course, they probably only built a couple of maybe 25 or so of them total, but they were all discreet. They were going to be a real good console. They were really big and heavy and bulky, but that's where I went. He gave me a job working in the electronic side of it, stuffing circuit boards and, you know, soldering in resistors and capacitors and this, that, and the other. But that's not where my heart was. He had a great recording studio, but it was all staffed up, and I didn't really know what I was doing anyway. So I wound up leaving there and going to another studio called England Sound, which was just a little 8-track recording studio down on the Strip, what was called the Strip in Knoxville, Tennessee, because University of Tennessee was right there. All the cool little nightclubs and beer joints and everything. And then there was England Sound, which was a huge record store, but in the back they had the recording studio. and I got access to that, and that's where I really got my start. It was like sink or swim, because I put myself in the position of being a recording engineer, and I really wasn't. But people were kind, and plus we were all kind of novice at that point. And we had people coming in, like Pam Tillis actually came in, and we did demos with her. We did little jingles with her. We did radio spots with her, and really got myself acclimated to actually running a console. And I also got a job with a company called Mountain Sound that was a big touring company that had multiple road systems. And I got the opportunity to go out with them as a road crew guy, and hustling cables more than anything. But we went out with people like the Marshall Tucker Band, REO Speedwagon. We even did an Eagles concert in Knoxville, actually.
Nice.
With I think the Amazing Rhythm Masons opened for that. And I got to know all those guys prior to going to work for Mountain Sound. They actually cut their original demo for Third Rate Romance at England Sound, I believe. But I know the song was written right across the street at Ruby Tuesdays, which was the original Ruby Tuesdays.
Man.
The very first one.
That's some serious history right there, man.
Third Rate Romance was written in that restaurant.
I can almost see that. Hey, man, was that in the 70s?
Oh, yeah. That was like in 75, 76. I got out of the military in 75. I was in Knoxville probably a couple of months after I got out of the service.
We got out of the military at the same year, man.
Right.
Isn't that funny? Yeah. So Knoxville, Tennessee, mid 70s, and you were there for quite a while, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there probably 5 years or so, doing the studio thing. I got pretty good at it and started working in all the other studios around the area, and got an opportunity to go to Nashville quite a good bit and work up there a lot.
As an engineer, or
as an engineer, I got my chops up, and I knew a little bit about what I was doing, and wound up doing a lot of sessions, a lot of demo work. Really got busy up in Nashville and learned the ropes pretty good. And Knoxville as well. Knoxville had a pretty good music scene back then.
So Nashville, and then from Nashville, where did you, after all that?
I wound up coming back to Mississippi and took a job with Fresco Entertainment doing live sound. They had a studio called North American Recording Studios in Jackson. It was a nice 24-track MCI room. It was, well built. Claude Hill, I believe, actually built that studio.
Hey, Tom, 1 second.
Yeah.
Up where we left off. There we go.
So I forgot where we were, actually.
Well, you were talking about the Fresco Entertainment and Claude Hill.
Yeah, okay. Right.
So Claude Hill designed something.
Yeah, Fresco Entertainment was a entertainment booking agency more than anything, and they booked college deals, frat houses, and everything all over the country. And there was a band called the Royal American Showmen that was their feature. That was their big act, and they were really big. That's a horn section, they had the whole 9 yards. It was a big show, and I wound up working with them, and they broke up and formed a group called Mississippi, MIS''SIPPI. And they took the road and started touring, and they went everywhere, including Alaska. And I was lucky enough to get to go up there to a place called the Magnificent Flying Machine. We did 6 weeks in one location, and it was the coolest thing in the world. The big, giant, nice nightclub. We had a big, giant, nice PA system, and man, we got it sounding like $1 million in there.
Sweet.
And when we come in off of the road, I'd go to the studio because they'd have stuff going on in the studio. We had many artists coming through there and producers, and I worked with all of them. Nothing of any real notoriety nationally, but around here they were pretty much a big deal. Bob McCree and Carson Witz had produced some stuff down there. Carson's no longer with us. He was the keyboard player for the rhythm section at Malaco. Anyway, I got entrenched pretty good with all these guys around here. And then next thing you know, I wound up walking into Malaco one afternoon, and Wolf Stevenson, he was the vice president of Malaco at that time, but also the chief engineer. Mm-hmm. He was getting ready to go on vacation. So he was trying to do a demo session, talking on the phone, booking his flights and booking his plans. And he was like just detached from the session. And I walked in, and he knew me from the past. And I just sat down at the console and took over for him. And the next thing I know, he was walking out the door saying, "You got a job." And and he was gone. And so I finished that session up, and I was reported to duty the next morning at 9 o'clock, to keep on rocking.
Nice. And Tommy Couch was okay with that, huh?
Yeah, Tommy Couch was, as a matter of fact, I showed up the next day, and he brought in a little rap group that he wanted to try to do something with. So we did that. Mm-hmm. And of course, that lasted, a week or so, fooling around with that. And then Wolf shows back up, and the next thing I know, it says, our next session is going to be Bobby Blue Bland. I was like, holy crap, really? Okay,
nice.
Great.
Nice.
So that was my first real professional session at Malaco. Nice. It was Bobby Bland, and it was the Members Only album.
What a fantastic song, man!
Yeah. And I got to know most of the writers. Tommy Tate and I became close friends. Larry Addis and I became close friends. These are the guys that wrote most of the songs on most of the records at Malaco. Mm-hmm. And of course, George Jackson, he was Muscle Shoals writer, mm-hmm. and he wrote stuff like One Bad Apple and Old Time Rock and Roll and stuff like that.
Right.
So he was a pretty good writer too, if you might think. And we got to know him really well, and of course worked with him day in and day out, because that's what we did. We cut demos constantly. These guys mm-hmm. would come in with songs, and we had a little house rhythm section. Vince Barranco was part of it. And Sam Brady was on some of it. And then, of course, the writers themselves usually played piano, so they would usually play the keyboards. And, Vince would be on drums. We'd have Chili Willie on basses, and Willie James Hatton was his real name, but he was actually the great bass player, but he was the guy he was the go guy for Malaco. He did all the errands. He would go to the airport and pick up the artists. He'd take them back. Bussing people around. Mm-hmm. He was just all around go getter guy for the company. But at any rate, he was the bass player. Mm-hmm. Vince Barranco, and of course I would be engineering, and then no telling who else would be there. We'd have people like Vasti Jackson on guitar. We'd have. But at any rate, we cut demos, and we'd then Tommy and Wolf, they would sit back and they go through those demos and they pick the songs. And the next thing you know, you had a Denise LaSalle coming through the door, or a Johnny Taylor coming through the door, and it was really exciting. We had a lot of fun, made a lot of great records.
Yeah, man. You were telling me about a song that you co-wrote for Johnny Taylor. Yeah. Tommy Tate and I we co-wrote "Universal Lady" on Johnny Taylor's Loverboy album. Nice song, yeah.
Yeah, it's a real nice song. It's a pretty song. It's not it didn't make a hit, but it did make some money, and we did really well on it for a little while. But at any rate, all of this was going on at the same time where Malaco Records had probably the largest gospel label going, and I did all of those records. I did all of those basically by myself with producer Frank Williams, which I think I sent you a picture of he and I at the console together up in Muscle Shoals. Right.
Frank Williams, one of the Williams brothers, right?
Yeah, he was definitely one. Well, he was not a Williams brother in the Williams Brothers band. He was one of their blood brothers, but he actually ran his own deal. He had the Jackson Southern Airs, which was a big gospel act. Then Frank also is the one that formed, and he was the brainchild of the Mississippi Mass Choir.
Which you recorded, you said you recorded the first two albums?
Which I worked on that project as either mostly my job on those records was remixing, because we used Paul Christensen to do the recording, the multi-tracking with the Omega Audio recording truck, which was world famous in itself. Everybody had recorded on it, including the Rolling Stones and you name it. Everybody, any live album of any worth, it was probably done on that truck.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So you did the studio remix. He
would track everything, and we would take the masters, the multi-tracks, and we'd mix some of it in Jackson at Malaco. That was about the time that Malaco bought Muscle Shoals Sound as well. So we were experimenting with going up there and doing our mixing and what have you, and it really was a neat combination. It really was a neat combination.
What kind of board did they have up there at Malaco that you were working on?
Malaco had a MCI console at that time. Muscle Shoals had two of the Neve 80 series consoles. Had a 32 channel in the A room and a 50 some odd channel, 56 channel, I believe, in the B room, and it was automated. So that was my first real experience with flying faders. Whereas Malaco had automation on that console, but it was a VCA style automation, a little bit messy in comparison to the Neve. Of course, the Neve and the MCI are two totally different animals. Neve is an op-amp integrated circuit console, and a Neve is a fully discrete console, meaning there's no integrated circuits in it. It's all hand-wired and put together, with mil-spec parts, mil-spec capacitors and resistors and what have you. It's called discrete circuitry, and they sound different. They truly sound different.
Well, some of my techie friends listening will enjoy hearing you talk like that, but everybody else is, they're just really thrilled to hear you talk about being involved with Muscle Shoals and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, it was quite a thrill. As a matter of fact, when Malaco bought Muscle Shoals, I was probably the first guy that went up there from Malaco and did a session. I took a gentleman up there, his name was Jimmy Etheridge, and we had done a demo on George Soule at Malaco, and George Soule he was a very famous writer back in the day. I think he did a lot of stuff with Paul Davis, and of course he worked up at Muscle Shoals a lot too. But he's from Meridian, Mississippi, and he had come over to the studio, and we did a demo with him. And a friend of mine, Jimmy Etheridge, came in and heard that song and had a fit. He just had to cut it himself. So we went to Muscle Shoals. He booked some time up there, and we got the swappers in and recut that song for him. Nothing ever happened with it, which was a shame because it was really well done. But that was really neat to be able, go back up to Muscle Shoals and knock the dust off of everything and recut it, get it up and running again.
Nice, man.
Of course, I didn't really have that big of a role in that, other than I sat down at the console and had a really great assistant engineer, and we cut the tracks. I mean, Malaco had already done all the legwork as far as getting the place up and running again.
Was that the studio that Claude Hill designed?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it did. It's two A and B room, and it was the old National Guard Armory on the river. A huge building. And Claude Hill went in there and did the redesign on it and installed the two rooms. And
what kind of equipment was he selling at the time? Was he selling MCI boards?
Yeah, he was an MCI sales guy, a rep, and of course, being a studio designer, and then he had kind of like me, he had dealerships of all these different companies, right. And here at AVA, we have dealerships. We sell to churches, and we sell to bands, we sell to whoever, we buy wholesale, sell. But anyway, the Muscle Shoals thing was just really a treat for me and everybody to go up there and do a really, really great session with the swampers, and that was pretty cool. But of course, the swampers were always in and out of Malaco. We were always the rhythm section that we had was kind of a set group, but sometimes maybe the guitar player couldn't make it, so we'd bring in somebody like Larry Bynum.
I saw Will McFarland in the Malaco book. The Last Soul Company.
Right. You never knew who was going to wind up being on the main sessions because nothing but top end pro players. It was always very, very, very structured. You know, they come in with a chart and sit down and work the chart for a minute and maybe make a change or two. And one or two takes and it was done, you know. We had a song down.
Nice, man. Well, you know, you do it all the time, and that's what you want, right? Well, so the people that you brought in on my album, I mean, when we first connected, do you remember when we first connected, by the way?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
First of all, it was online. I mean, I think I messaged you because Danny Brooks cut his Mississippi Sessions album there.
Right, he sure did.
And Danny and I've, you know, we've been friends for a number of years, and and so I was keeping my eyeballs peeled because Danny gets around, you know, and so. I was checking out this session. I heard some of the cuts, and I thought, I wonder what this Tom Easley guy is like, you know? And so then I emailed you, and I was coming through town, and I wanted to do one song. I wanted to do one song with you and a song over in Clovis, New Mexico with Johnny, my buddy Johnny Mulhair, yeah. And Johnny ended up selling his house and studio, and I called him and he said all of his stuff was in boxes in his garage, and so my heart sank. So I thought, well, maybe I could do two songs with this guy Tom Easley. So I asked you about that, and do you remember what you said?
I said you're going to get a better deal doing 4 songs. I think. I think.
Actually, you put it like this: we can't get these pro players in here for one song, Howie.
Right.
We've got to do it.
Yeah.
We'll have to shoot.
I was trying to make it. Yeah. I had my business hat on at that stage of the game. I guess, and I was looking out for the players. You know, getting them out here. Yeah.
So you suggested 4 songs, and I thought, well, 4-song EP. You know, I said, we'll see how it goes. You know, and so we made an arrangement to do that. And so in June of 1921, I mean 2021. 2021.
Yeah.
we
don't date us that bad.
I know.
We're old, but not that old yet.
Yeah, I know. We're doing new vintage, but it isn't that vintage.
That's right, brother.
But anyway, yeah, that was great. And so you assembled a team of guys that were just like, I mean, I don't know if these are guys you were looking to work with anyway, but they seem to be a perfect fit for Debbie and I.
Well,
personality-wise and music-wise and everything.
Yeah, well, these guys have worked together for so long. You know, they're the local pros around here that have traveled all over the world and played with many acts, and they're just seasoned out. They know what they're doing, and I knew they knew what they were doing. So that's the way I try here. I don't want to have to toilet train someone on the floor on the session. You know?
I know what you mean.
I want them to come in here and know what the heck they're doing and go ahead and, sit down and play to the song.
Right, right. That's
all about the song. So that was,
it is.
Yeah.
And the feel has to be there. And so what I was hoping to do is just actually, cut the foundational tracks as a team, as a rhythm set, just
right.
And that's
exactly what we did.
And those 4 songs sounded so out of sight, and the personalities were so out of sight. But then I asked you, do you know any girls that could, like a girl that could sing harmony with me? And you said, well, I've got 3. I said, cha-ching, man. I haven't got that kind of money. And basically you said, we'll work with, let's work together on it. So those 3 ladies, sweet gals, Jewel Bass, Thomasine Anderson, and Monica Shepard came in, and in one night cut those 4 songs. And of course, that was the night that it rained.
It was a thunderstorm.
I couldn't believe it.
The studio's got a metal roof, and man,
I was bummed, man. I was totally bummed. But you know what?
You don't hear any rain on the record, do you?
You can't hear it at all. It's awesome.
And you know why? I've got the greatest engineer in the country, and that's Gary O'Neill.
Man, he did a fabulous
job. Able to get it out. But it was incredible. It was, and you know, we've had that happen a couple of times. We booked the girls to come in and do backgrounds, and we get a storm that comes with them. I don't know. There might be something to be said about that.
I know the girls bring the rain.
The storm with them.
Well, I'll tell you what, the vocals they put on my album sound like a storm, man. I mean,
out of sight.
I know they took it into the stratosphere, man. And so,
man, on "Can't Buy Me Love," the Beatles song, I must have been asleep at the wheel or something. But when they started that, when they hit that first chorus on "Can't Buy Me Love," it was just so sassy and so mean.
Oh man,
it turned that whole song around. It turned that track around.
It's like a locomotive coming through, man. Well, so after we got done with those 4 songs in June, you know, I think one of the first things as we were listening to it there in that Claude Hill designed control room, man.
Oh yeah.
I think I turned to you and said, "Man, this sounds so good. We can't just leave it here. We've got to do a full-on album."
Yeah.
So I was hoping to come back in October, but it didn't happen till March of 22, when Debbie and I came back to Mississippi, and we got the same guys together: Gary on bass, Vince on drums, Sam on keyboards, and Debbie and I, and we laid down 8 more songs, right?
Yeah. Right.
We knocked out 8 songs, and was it in 2 days or?
I think we did. Yeah, we knocked those out in 2 days. That's right. We did 4 tracks each day, I believe. Yeah. And then what was so cool about your record, though, is the camaraderie that you and I formed and had doing the overdubs, doing the guitar part. You know, you and I got in here at night and did. You know, you stayed here at my house, which was great.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
We had so much fun.
We did.
Because we could come out here at 3 o'clock in the morning with an idea and start tracking it. You know?
That was great.
We had a blast doing it.
That was like the old day when I read about the Beatles and other people going to the studio and just hanging out there at night, you know, and just hanging out and getting the song the way they wanted it, you know. That's exactly what I loved it. I mean, you and I really did. The chemistry is just amazing.
Oh, it was. It's and it's remained.
Oh, absolutely.
After the fact, we're still extremely close.
Like brothers, man.
You and Debbie both are like family to us now.
I mean, you and Sandra. I mean, we've got you've got a spot
something going on, brother. We got something going on that's unique.
Yes.
And it's something to be cherished and held on to really tight.
Absolutely, man. And
it's not happening. It's not happening out there in the real world anymore.
Well, you know what? That's what this world needs. And I love the fact that this album, you call it G-rated boogie. Music that you could let your mother listen to.
That's right. There's nothing on here that you have to be. Nobody's gonna cringe at any point in any of these songs, because they're all good. Just really good, clean, wholesome, fun, great sounding tracks.
And yet it is top. Now, I mean, it stands up to anything out there. I mean, these songs are really top quality in every way, man. They groove. You know, you could take them into a club if you wanted to. Nothing wrong with that, you know. And I have. Yeah. In fact, a couple of songs I actually wrote as a result of being at Blues Jams here in Columbus. And, you know, so... And like I said, the girls took it into the stratosphere. And then when I came back in June, no, I think you called me or something, and you said, you know, these songs are screaming for horns. Oh. And I said, man, horns? No. I mean, I was originally envisioning guitar-driven stuff. And then it turned out being keyboard heavy because Sam plays a killer piano and B3.
Right.
And so horns weren't even on my radar. But you said, listen, you know, you're in Mississippi, Muscle Shoals. This is the sound, and I've got just the guy. You know, Harrison Calloway was the horn guy at Muscle Shoals in Malaco, right?
Absolutely.
And this fella that you mentioned actually was his protege, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it certainly was.
And we're talking about none other than Kimball
Mr.
Funches.
Kimball Funches. Yes, sir.
Mr. Kimball Funches. And man, he did everything you said he would do and more.
Right, right. Well, we were really fortunate because I invited him to come out during your session. Remember that?
I do.
He came out, he heard it, he had a fit, he knew what it needed. We felt the chemistry right then with him as well.
Oh man, he was sitting over there on the couch, just bopping away, a big smile on his face. Yeah. His mind was going a mile a minute.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and then he brought in. I wish I could have been there for the session, but you photographed it. He brought in Doug and Will, right?
Right, Will Brown and Doug Thomas.
Doug Thomas
on saxophone. And Doug was on the trombone, and Kimball was flugelhorn and trumpet, of course.
Right, and Doug played tenor and
trombone.
Oh, Doug played trombone. Will played tenor and Barry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Doug played the sax. Yeah, he played tenor and Barry.
Hold on. Let me look at the liner notes. Yeah. That's why you've got to buy the CD, because it actually has liner notes.
Right. So you can read the credits as you go.
That's right. So let me see. Doug Thomas, tenor sax and Barry sax. Will Brown, trombone. And let's not forget Malcolm Shepard, who is Jules' brother and Monica's dad, on congas and bongos.
Yeah.
And bongos. And horn section arranged by Kimball. Man, so I've yet to actually talk with Doug and Will, but I want to. They did a fabulous job.
Oh man, you know it. I've got Doug's information. Not Doug. I've got Will's information. I'll text it up to you, and maybe you can give him a shout one day.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have Doug's information, but I'm sure we can get it from Kimball.
Oh, I'm sure.
But what was cool about that though, we brought them in and cut them just like we used to cut in Malaco. We'd put everybody on the floor at once. Got them mic'd up, got a little tones. Made sure everything sounded correct, and turn them loose, let them rock.
So everything on this album is live. It's a real person playing it. There's no sample, anything.
That's right. No buttons pushed to get a sound. It was all organic.
And that's why we're calling it new vintage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing we're labeling it is the Jackson Sound. Tell me about the Jackson Sound, Tom.
Jackson has been known for soul music for forever. Ever since I was a kid, soul music was, was a staple here. Man, when I was a kid, 8 and 10 years old, I would go to the sock hops and stuff with my sisters, just to hang, because I was a little brat kid that had to, they had to let me hang around with them, or they couldn't go. But I remember going to the sock hops and what have you. Man, I remember the sound of B3 and the sound of horns. From the time I was able to even understand what music really was. 7, 8, 10 years old. I knew right then that I had to be in the music business. Or I had to play music. I thought I was going to be a musician. That was my original intent, And but after a while, I realized that I was more interested in the technical side, in the production, and how things are put together. And
well, I'll tell you what, man, you have definitely met your calling, because I mean, you did a fabulous job. I mean, if you were recording Bobby Blue Bland and Johnny Taylor and all these people, and all the gospel groups. I mean, the sound you got out of my album is everything that I had hoped for, and then some, man.
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. It's everything we hope for, too, brother. Everything we've done in here seems to get a little better every time we do it. The studio is new, and this technology is new to me. I'm an old analog guy from back in the day when, you actually used a tape machine. But and the digital stuff kind of flew over my head. That's why I have a engineer in here that knows it inside and out. And I can depend on him, and I can actually just sit back and say yes or no, and tell everybody what I'm looking for. And we're just so fortunate we've got that caliber of players around here. You can tell them what you're looking for, and buddy, you get it.
Yeah, man.
And you don't have to dig around for it. They've got it on the tip of their fingers, and they'll play it for you right there.
Well, I'll tell you, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You and Gary definitely make a good team.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He knows his stuff. He's been in the live side of it for a long time, twisting knobs and things. And And you've got the ears that I'm looking for, and when you add that all together with the personality, AVA Entertainment is a great place to record a record.
Thank you. We really it's over love, and it just gets a little better every day. So can't wait for your next album.
Oh, me too. Me too. I'm looking forward to coming in and doing that acoustic guitar and Native American flute stuff we've been talking
absolutely.
about.
I am so looking forward to all of that.
Well, Tom, this has been a great first interview, and I'm excited because I think we should do this again. You've got a lot more stuff locked up in that noggin of yours, and a lot of more history that people would like to hear, I'm sure. So I'm looking forward to coming back and soon, and I'm hoping that we can do a live thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's another leg of what we do around here. We've got a small PA production system, and we just recently decided we had another 64-channel console like we have in the studio. We had one in inventory that we had for sale, and we just yesterday actually said, okay, let's just go ahead and put that in with the sound company. So now we've got the 64-channel console for the live rig, also a 32 and also a 16 if you want to break it down that small. But we've grown that little leg of the arm of the business, and looking forward to when we produce an album out here. We really would like to have the opportunity to take and showcase that album after the fact for the album release parties and stuff like that.
We've got to do that, man. We've got to do that.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping to get back there in November, early November. So
that would be great.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Well, Tom Easley, love to you and Sandra, and I can't wait to talk with you again.
Right back at you, brother. Have a great day.
Thank you, man.